A long time ago, on an English soundstage far, far away, in Shepperton to be specific, Room H, one of the darkest crimes of the entire galactic civil war was committed. No one gave Chewbacca a medal for helping blow up the Death Star, at least not on camera, which has led to such an interesting dialogue between Star Wars fans and Star Wars artists over the years that we decided to share it with you. It's the epic saga of Chewie's missing medal. And although those who have seen Rise of Skywalker may already know where we're going to end up, it's an incredible journey, and I promise to save any spoilers until the very end. For now, let's light skip back to 1970s brain space. As a fresh-faced Star Wars fan in '77, this seemed like a glaring omission. Why no medal for Chewie? When you factor in that he served aboard the Millennium Falcon and Han Solo, his co-pilot, was a private citizen who flatly refused a posting with the Rebel Alliance.
Look, I ain't in this for your revolution, and I'm not in it for you, Princess. I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
And then had a change of heart and helped assist Luke, the guy who actually blew up the Death Star. It feels unfair that Han leaves Yavin 4 with fresh bling draped around his elegant shoulders, while Chewbacca only has that lusterless silver bowcaster bandolier thingy. I mean, life debt my furry Wookiee behind. Chewie was robbed. But that wasn't meant to be the case. In fact, a 1974 George Lucas draft of what was at the time just called The Star Wars, that's right people, we've come full circle, features the stage direction Han presents Chewbacca and a delegation of Wookiees with a treaty, gifts, and a Medal of Honor. And it's important to note that's Wookiees with 2 E's, which is now the non-canon spelling. But that's not all. Chewbacca was doubly redeemed in the novelization of the 1997 film, ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster, using Lucas's original notes. That book was called Star Wars: From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, and it also explicitly features Chewie getting the Space Medal of Valor, along with Han and Luke. At the same time, in an interview recorded just a few weeks after A New Hope hit theaters, George Lucas said that, quote, Chewbacca wasn't given a medal because medals don't really mean much to Wookiees. They don't really put too much credence in them. They have different kinds of ceremonies. The Wookiee Chewbacca was, in fact, given a great prize and honor during a ceremony with his own people. The whole contingent from the Rebel Alliance went to Chewbacca's people and participated in a very large celebration. It was an honor for the entire Wookiee race. End very long quote. And although that explanation technically tracks, I'll be honest, it sounds a bit like George was already feeling free to riff on Star Wars canon by this point and just wanted to stop fielding the question, like a child asking their father why the 3 bears would leave porridge sitting out at varying temperatures when you'd think they prepared it in one big batch, and the dad saying, "It's magic porridge, okay? Go to sleep." And it was a scant 3 years later when Lucas would be refuted yet again by the 1980 Star Wars comic The Day After the Death Star, which featured the following panel of Leia standing on a box to bestow a Medal of Honor upon Chewbacca, you guessed it, the day after the ceremony we saw in the movie. Interesting side note, this is right when Empire Strikes Back came out with the, at the time, very confusing subtitle Episode 5, even though all the 1980 audience members were pretty confident this was only the second Star War that they'd witnessed. And in 1981, 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm performed the first ever Star Wars film canon retcon by re-releasing Star Wars to theaters with the new subtitle Episode 4, A New Hope, something most younger fans take for granted these days. Although his own anecdotes about Star Wars sometimes conflict, Lucas has most consistently said that he'd always envisioned a 9-beat arc to the Skywalker saga, and it was simply the unexpected success of Star Wars that made him realize that he could go ahead and go for it. And if you can imagine, it was a pretty big swing in 1981 to call your shot and make it a 9-parter. Little did we know then that this trend of slightly rewriting Star Wars lore, both in canon and behind the scenes in interviews, would become a staple of the property, with enhanced special editions of the trilogy released in 1997 to support the looming theatrical run of Phantom Menace in '99. Oh, also, editor, if you can CGI a dewback going by in the foreground here, that'd be great. Thank you. At any rate, that brings us back to Day After the Death Star, a Lucas-sanctioned comic that represented a very smart and workable compromise on the whole Chewie's medal issue, since it cleverly incorporated Lucas's own idea that Wookiees shy away from awards, which would in turn help explain why in the comic, Chewie demurs for a couple days and prefers to receive his medal in private, among friends. This is, in my opinion, the most satisfying canon move in our whole saga, since the writer of the comic, Archie Goodwin, also managed to somehow fold in a cheeky reference to the factor that probably actually really led to this whole debacle in the first place: that box. According to a 2015 interview with Peter Mayhew, the man inside the Wookiee suit, the likely reason for his snub was more about the challenging realities of filmmaking than a long, agonized over story decision. Said Mayhew, may he roar in peace, quote, "I think it was one of two reasons. One, they didn't have enough money to buy me a medal, or two, Carrie couldn't reach my neck, and it was probably too expensive to build a little step so that I could step down or that she could step up and give me the medal." End quote. And hey, as a tall guy who's worked in video his whole life, that sounds super probable to me. It's not hard to imagine that a fresh and ambitious filmmaker like 1977 George Lucas, paying for every minute he's on set and not yet aware that he's in the process of making one of the most profitable films of all time, might be less concerned with canon and more concerned about getting the vast number of featured extras shot and fed and dealt with. In a way, it's a very touching tribute to Star Wars' ensuing legacy and Lucas's love of his fans that he quickly decided it was more fun to play along and add to the universe, rather than simply answer, "I don't know, we ran out of Apple boxes and I didn't want to send a PA to get more." Believe it or not, our story doesn't end there. When Disney purchased Lucasfilm for $4 billion in 2012, all the pre-existing expanded universe stuff, i.e. the comics and novels that we've been referencing, were stripped from the official Star Wars canon. So, to those who care about such things, Chewie's having gotten a medal was again put at risk of being retconned away, undoing the previous retcons that undid him not getting one on camera in the first place, if you follow. Into this gaping void of uncertainty stepped Jerry Duggan and Phil Noto, the team Disney pegged to produce a Disney-approved, new canon run of graphic novels all about our favorite bugbear, Chewbacca. It's called Chewbacca. Near the end, a young girl named Zorro asks Chewie about a box that he's been hauling around the whole time, and it's revealed to be Gwyneth Paltrow's head. Just kidding, it's a medal identical to Luke and Han's from Episode 4. He then gifts the medal to Zorro, explaining that, quote, it would clash with his whole warrior vibe. And just like that, Chewie's medal was recanonized, and finally safe, at least until the next recanonization. And there it is, the complete, exhaustive, not missing anything timeline of Chewbacca getting temporarily overlooked at the end of A New Hope. That is, unless you're ready to breach spoiler space. All right, lean in, people who've seen Episode 9 and or don't care about minor spoilers regarding an Easter egg in Episode 9. So, Chewie gets the medal. Leia, she has one of those New Hope medals delivered to Chewie at the end. You saw it, I saw it, we all saw it, and we all cried. got it back on camera, you guys, on film, in one of the mainstay 9 movies that form the spine of the franchise. How cool is that? So let us all bask in the new certainty of Chewie's proper accreditation, and hope that Disney doesn't feel the need to special edition the new trilogy in 7 years and take it all back. Although, it's interesting to note that even by the standards of the new Disney Star Wars canon, the Rise Easter egg created a new in-canon discrepancy. See, now we've got 2 Disney Star Wars era timelines. One where Chewie had the medal from the beginning and lugged it around in a box all these years and then finally gave it to Zorro. And one where he receives it from Leia much later in life and it becomes his treasured memento of his time with her and Han instead. Huh. You know what? Maybe we do need a retcon re-release special edition to bridge the story gap. I've got some fanfic to write. I better wrap this up. I would say keep it locked to IGN, but instead, as the first/4th Star Wars film itself, we'll let Chewie have the last word. I'm using the word loosely here, of course.